Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. A big win for Arsenal Football Club as they go 4 points clear at the top of the English Premier League. A lot of time added on at the end there. Gooners fuming across social media. Why was so much time given to Wolves to potentially get an equaliser after Cunha gave them a glimmer of hope, but in the end, nothing more than a consolation goal for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I do think up until that point, 2-0, and in the end, 2-1 was a flattering scoreline for Wolves. A goal allowed absolutely nothing towards the end of a game that Arsenal started like a freight train. They absolutely blew Wolverhampton Wanderers away. The strength at the back, the shape, and then the poetry in motion, the movement and the team play, the interplay, the exchanges, the triangles and patterns by Arsenal for both their goals were absolutely exceptional. And what I've been talking about for a number of weeks with Arsenal now, I've seen the last 2 games come to fruition. What you have seen is a team that has probably had the Martinellis, the Gabriel Jesuses, the Sakas, not quite, definitely Martin Odegaard, not quite at the peak of their powers. But what you saw in the last few games is these players starting to find their feet again and get back to their best levels. They've been out of form. They're on their way back to their levels. And they put the game to bed with 2, as I say, exquisitely worked goals. First one, Saka plays the ball inside to Jesus, who knocks it to that inverted position to Tomiyasu, who feeds it through to Saka. A little bit of fortune because the defender gets a touch, but it falls back in Saka's pass and he buries it. And the second goal, again, starts with Saka on that left-hand side, worked all the way across to Zinchenko, who cuts it back to Odegaard, who gets himself on the score sheet again. And what I was so impressed about with Arsenal, up until they conceded the goal, to be honest with you, was the fact that they got them 2 quick goals and they killed the game off. And I made a note of it here. They played in second gear. And I do think that's key. I understand there was a defensive error from Zinchenko right at the end that led to a goal. And where I would adjust what I previously just said, they probably should have gone looking a little harder for the third goal just to completely 100% kill the game off. However, being able to play in second gear from about the 15th, 16th minute of the game right until the last 10 minutes, what that will do for Arsenal over the course of the season is massively important. Massively important. They have to reserve energy. They've got a game away at Luton on Tuesday and then a really difficult game away at Aston Villa next Saturday. So it was important for them to do it. Yes, I think they should have got that third goal and they probably should have pushed a little bit harder for that, especially in the early stages of that second half. Maybe there was a little bit of complacency towards the end of the game that that the game was out of sight. But overall, I think Arsenal were just superior to them in every way, shape, and form. Shout outs again. Listen, Saliba, and Gabriel. Listen, I'm struggling to. The quality of those two and the partnership they're created is absolutely top quality, and they're both still very young. The levels they could get to is phenomenal. I thought Saka today is someone I want to shout out from an attacking point of view, much better than we've seen him in recent times. But you know how you know you've got a great player on your hands, a great player in the making? Is that this man has got 19 goal contributions in 20 games this season, and most would say he hasn't been very good. To still have that level of output for a player that we all know is in poor form based on his own high standards, phenomenal. I thought Gabriel Jesus rightfully taken off around the 60th minute of the game because he's being sort of brought back in after an injury again, but another top performance from him. But the standout player again for me, and I wrote it down here, was Declan Rice, relentless. Absolutely relentless in terms of shielding that back line, protecting his defenders, being the starter of so many moves, controlling the tempo of the game from a deep position. The amount of time he intercepts and wins his tackles, wins his ground duels. And then right at the end of the game, where there's this glimmer of hope for Wolves, he's in the right place at the right time to intercept crosses. He's just so damn good. Do you know how good he is? He's so good that soon it's going to look like normal, and people are going to, you're almost going to forget how good, you're almost going to forget that what he's doing is such a phenomenal level. It's just going to appear every day because almost like the novelty is going to wear off of how good he is. I also want to shout out Odegaard as well today because, listen, he's been a player that's been well off the pace this year for Arsenal, not just from a creation point of view and goal scoring, even his progressive passes. You look at the numbers and watch him and use your eyes, he has been off. He is starting to get back to his best. And if he's able to start threading more of those balls through, having that cutting edge against his opponents, that will free up more time, room, and space for your inside forwards, Martinelli and Saka, and will lead to Arsenal scoring more goals. I still think they got the game management right today. Overall, a little nervy towards the end, but that all came from a mistake from Zinchenko. And I would say the only two negatives today for Arsenal are Zinchenko, and he did it in the first half once where he got caught on the ball really unprofessionally, and what led to that goal, that was poor. Eddie Nketiah, he should be finishing that chance that Odegaard created for him. It would have taken all the pressure out of those last 10 minutes. It would have seemed from a scoreline point of view more of an emphatic win for Arsenal. But as I say, I'm not an Arsenal fan, so I'm not watching it with nerves. I'm not watching it with any panic. I'm not watching it with any worry at all. And for me, I didn't think Wolves were going to even equalize. I didn't think they would score. You essentially gifted them a goal. It was a good finish, but it was really through Arsenal making a mistake as opposed to anything else. But as the table reads, Arsenal sit 4 points clear of City. City are expected to win tomorrow. They are expected to win against Manchester City. Sorry, Manchester City are expected to win against Tottenham tomorrow, but they have to go and do it. They have to go and get it done. Now there's a 4-point gap. Liverpool, there's a 5-point gap, and they play at home to Fulham. They probably will win, but they have to. Aston Villa play. I mean, Aston Villa are 5 points behind now, and I'm not saying they'll win the league, but you've got to keep aiming to win every game. That pressure mounts. You know, excuse me. Arsenal also play on Tuesday, which I haven't actually gone and checked for everybody else's, but I think that's for all the other teams in this title race and in the top 4, top 5 play. Again, you want to be playing first if you're top and you have a bit of clear blue water between you and your opponents. You win that game, that pressure mounts for everybody else in their game. So look, I want to say congratulations to Arsenal today, because I think, as we know, and I've said for a while, that the strength they have this season is they're so defensively sound. You can't legislate for a mistake from an individual. That doesn't negate how good the system is. They barely get progressed on. They barely concede clear-cut open chances. And even the goal today wasn't a clear-cut chance. It was an absolute brilliant finish from a mistake. The attackers are now starting to click. And when these attackers at Arsenal start to click, they are dangerous. They are scary. And I know that rivals think that, because they'll start to panic. And you'll start to see them rip Arsenal's performances. The fact that Arsenal being 4 points clear at the top of the league, 14 games in, will get more ridicule than a team potentially losing 4 games on the bounce tomorrow. It's crazy to me. It tells you that there's a desperation for Arsenal to not be successful. I got called out today saying, Terry, why do you praise Arsenal at the moment more than you praise Man United? It's a really weird thing to say. I love Man United with every ounce of my being, but how can I praise a team that is performing terribly more than a team that's performing brilliantly? Or at least getting brilliant results? Doesn't make any sense. And the final thing I'll say before I go to the super chats and then look to bring the panel out is this. I understand some Arsenal fans may feel frustrated that you were 2-0 up early and you didn't go on to get 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and like smash them and obliterate them. And I know that goal at the end kind of goes against what I'm saying slightly. But I know some people look at football as an entertainment. But you can't compare a one-off game to a Beyonce concert. You can't compare it to going to the theater to watch a show. You can't compare it to watching a movie. Because say you pay loads of money, £100 to go and watch Beyonce, £100 to go and watch Drake. I don't know how much they charge about that. You want every dance move, every song, every lyric. If you watch a movie, you want every ounce of that film to have 100% energy in it. Absolute oomph. You want no stone left unturned. You want to see the best for your money. I get you want that in every football match you watch. However, it isn't just a one-off performance. The 38-game season, plus another potentially, 20 or 30 more games in all comps, the whole thing is the show. You can't expend all your energy now, everything. You've got to be measured in what you do. And it's a lot easier for me to say it because I'm not an Arsenal fan. From the outside looking in, I get the frustrations. Could have killed the game off. And I do think you should have gone for a third goal. I've already said that. We should have pushed maybe a little harder for a third goal. Having said that, you should have had a penalty and Wolves had a man sent off as well. How VAR didn't bring it back for Gabriel Jesus' arm being pulled for a good second or two. And if that hadn't happened, he gets his head on the ball. He either scores the header or go 3-0 up, or you get the penalty against 10 men, you go 3-0 up, probably would have killed the game off. And that hasn't really been discussed too much. I haven't even really seen it on pictures of it or videos of it on socials, to be fair. That was crazy to me. You should have got the third goal. But the game management overall, I think, was correct by Arsenal, correct by Mikel Arteta. You just can't legislate for what Zinchenko did, in my humble opinion. That's not a penalty, you clown. How is it not a penalty? How is it not a penalty? He literally held the man's arm. You see, Gabriel, listen, I know they said on VAR, you can't tell how much force is being used. I could see how much force was being used. I could see how tight it was being held. It's a lot of force. You're not allowed to do it. And the reason it's a red card is because that's not an attempt to play the ball. And it's denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. And in the box, unless you're trying to win the ball and you deny a clear goal-scoring opportunity, which a header in an open goal from 3 to 4 yards out is one of those things. It's a red card, 110%. And it may be a contact sport, but you're not allowed to pull someone's arm. That's not within the law of this beautiful game. Super chats here. Let the come fest begin. Listen, my friend, it's the top of the league by 4 points. Why would they not be happy? Come on, you gooners. Love my bro, Terry. Thank you, Luke Skywalker. I appreciate that. Zinchenko needs to be moved to midfield. Solid midfielder, terrible left back. Listen, I agree. I mean, he was so good in the lead up to your second goal. Phenomenal. But yeah, defensively, there are mistakes there in him. Arsenal scare rivals, Terry. Lol. Yeah, they do. That's why they slag them off all the time. Odegaard, 6 key passes, robbed of 3 assists. Yeah, Odegaard was class today. Odegaard today, in my opinion, was back to almost his very, very, very best. Eddie needs to go, and Zinchenko BS will cost us. We were on the show the other, I think it was with Hussam, and Hussam says Arsenal should sell Gabriel Jesus to fund the signing of Ivan Toney, and it made me laugh. No, you sell Nketiah to fund Toney, and then you have both of them, because they can actually play together in some games, because Jesus can do so many roles. But yeah, I agree. Terry, you said this last year. You said this last year. Want the clip? So again, last year I said I said last season they would become title contenders, and I said it wasn't a fluke. And next year they would be in and around the top of the league again, and they are. So there's nothing the only thing I got wrong last year was in the last third of the season when they were 7 points clear. I said I think they might win the league now. Outside of that, everything else I said about Arsenal, they would become title contenders, and it wasn't a flash in the pan, has come fundamentally true. So, yeah, I mean, clip it all you want, but nothing I've said about Arsenal. And by the way, I'm still predicting City to win the league. Nothing I've said about Arsenal is untrue. Imagine if we had Partey and Timber available. Yeah, that could be levels. That could be levels. That could be when Timber comes back. I mean, I think Partey's going to be sold. I would personally sell Partey and sign Douglas Luiz if I was Arsenal, but that's just me. Chicken will be punished tonight. Handball plus red. Fair enough. Thank you very much, bro. Sometimes it's okay to boot the ball out of the box. Shameful we didn't get a clean sheet. Still think we need an 8 more by this game. Shows a striker is needed. I think it's both, and I think your fans should demand both. You're a club, one of the richest clubs in the world, owned by billionaires. You can afford both. Just get the owners to pump in some money. Odegaard was back to his best. since coming back from injury. He looks very good today and controlled most of the game. As soon as Zinny gave away that goal, I was like, hello, stress. No, I agree. Listen, I don't watch Arsenal games stressed. I'm not an Arsenal fan. But it was a bit like I started switching off because it was just so controlled. I started phasing myself out the game a little bit, getting ready for the stream. But yes, the Odegaard looking quality. As they say, form is temporary, class is permanent. And I think the Odegaards, the Martinellis, the Sakas have been low on form. But we knew, again, I think most football people knew they were going to get back to their best. So that's a pen, but not the City one against United. But again, this is what you're not looking at. My point of view is this: holding people around their bodies. I see that happen on a very regular basis, and the foul not be given. That was my argument. But they've set a precedent, and they've said that kind of pull is a penalty. So based on that precedent being set, so now we don't have subjectivity, do we? Because we know that a little pull on the waist of a 6'4" man can make him fall over, and it's a pen. Based on that, subjectivity becomes irrelevant. His arm was being pulled and hung onto, has to be a penalty. Or unless we're saying that VAR lies to cover themselves. Which one is it, Chicken Wing? Which one is it? People say no penalty, but Højlund's pull was. Again, people can't make their minds up about which one to go with. I love being sarcastic with some of these people. Evening, Terry, and everyone watching the Euros draw. I haven't got that on right now, but we will, I'm sure. Wow, all of a sudden, Zinny is a bad defender. I get it's a mistake, but let's not forget his performances past weeks. I think he should be criticised, though. Some people have never rated him as a defender, so I get that. Arsenal oozing, Odegaard and Saka, class, Gabriel, and then Love Eyes. I think Gabriel the defender or Gabriel Jesus. I'm not too sure, Beckley, which one you personally mean. We're going to bring the panel out now to have their say on the show with us today. We've got Saad, we've got Gunner Souls, we've got Man Like Jay with us as well right now. Boys, well, congratulations on the win today. And congratulations on the win. I want to go to Souls first. 4 points clear at the top. What did you make of Arsenal today? Really good early lead, dominated the game. A little hairy towards the end. What did you make of it, Souls?
Do you know what? I'm starting to figure out that Arteta's realised his mistakes from last season, where we went all guns blazing at the beginning of the season for the first, let's say, half the season, and then we burnt ourselves out. Now, he's trying to phase it in the games as well, where he's not exerting himself in the entire 90. He's telling them, look, let's get a quick start against teams that are going to do a low block, that are going to be very good defensively. Let's try and break them down. In the first, 15 minutes, we got the first goal. Within the first 25 minutes, we're 2-0 up. And that's when we started controlling games, and which is what we want to see more of as fans. Now, the only kind of criticism and genuine criticism I have in this game is we should have killed it off. We had the opportunities. We had the Eddie Nketiah. Trossard had 2 or 3 opportunities. There was moments where Gabriel Jesus should have squared it off instead of shot. Saka had an open goal, which he should have squared off to Nketiah. These are the sort of moments, especially if you're going to have a mistake in you, like what Zinchenko did, that's going to come to haunt us. Now, it didn't today. Thankfully, we didn't go 2-2, but that could have very easily went 2-2. So we need to learn that. We need to get something within us to become killers, whether that's buying a player that's going to do it, or whether that's a mentality shift that we need to have. Sometimes we lack the ability to just kill games. Like Lens, for example, perfect opportunity, 5-0 within the first half. That's how you do it. And when the opportunities present themselves, and Arteta has been very critical of the team on this, we're not clinical enough. And that's probably why a lot of people are confused to what position it is that we need. Because if we take Gabriel Jesus out of this team, we do lose something. We lose the creativity. We do lose a little bit of attacking flair. And that's where, for me, it becomes a difficult conversation of what position and what player do we go and get that's really going to improve us. And a lot of people are going to target Zinchenko. But for me, that game should have been killed before the mistake was made. So we can target Zinchenko and say, look, he can't defend. He shouldn't have done it. Granted, he should have cleared the ball. There was better decision-making to be made. And a lot of people have better expectations of Zinchenko in those moments as well, to not do something so stupid, especially with the amount of Premier League he's won. He's been around Man City's camp and the amount of cups he's won with them as well, to not make a mistake like this. If it's a young player who's, his first season or whatever, you can expect those moments. But overall, you've got to be happy. I mean, we're finding our form, we're finding the attacking flair. The goals will come. And for me, we're starting to see what we've seen last season. The last thing I want to say on this is, I wish Arteta made changes earlier because we could see the game kind of phasing out. Arsenal were just kind of riding through the motions. And I want him to become more proactive rather than reactive to situations and actually start making those changes a lot earlier than he does. I want to stop seeing the constant 75-minute changes. I want to see them come in the 50th minute. We're 2-0 up. Saka doesn't need to be on the pitch. Odegaard doesn't need to be on the pitch. Tomiyasu didn't need to be on the pitch. These are the games where we need to manage player minutes so that they don't burn out later into the season. That's all I've got to say on this.
I hear you on that. Igal, important win today, though. 4 points clear at the top. And it does feel that your attacking players, the Odegaard, the Sakas, are now starting to really come back to life again.
Odegaard, of course. We've seen Odegaard have his swagger back today. Bukayo Saka scoring an early goal. That's the earliest goal I think we scored this season, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even in all competitions. It was nice to see us come out the gates like that. But what we've seen was when we come out the gates like that, as the game goes on, I feel like we slowed down. So we need to fix that up, because the first half, I felt like we could have finished that first half with 4, maybe even 5 goals if we were really clinical. Gabriel Jesus was at the heart of everything that was going good for us in that first half. He basically had the pre-assist in both goals, so I have to give him a lot of credit for what he did in his contribution to those goals also. But he also had an opportunity where he could have capitalized and at the back post, and he didn't take it. There was the opportunity where Trossard could have scored. You had another opportunity where Nketiah could have scored. And don't forget, Martinelli also hit the inside of the post for one of his signature shots also. So we just had so many opportunities where we couldn't take it. It was small margins. But you know what? I'm disappointed we didn't keep the clean sheet in the second half. Wolves' goal was coming because we were being a little bit sloppy in the second half. But yes, Terry, we can take away the positives. And even though we're not creating the most chances in the league, we're still not even in the top 10 in chances in the league. But we're getting comfortable first half performances like that. I think it's going to be great because our defense has been showing up. Now we just need our attack to show up, because I've said it before. We have a solid midfield, one of the best defenses in this league. It's just our attack needs to click into gear, and then we'll be good on all fronts. And then at that point, who's going to stop us? But right now, Terry, there's still some questions that need to be asked even after this victory. Because why did we switch off? Is it by design? What is it that if we get a lead, we seem to just try to control the game and not go for it again? We should just keep going.
No, I do disagree there, Gal, because we did, like you mentioned, we had 4 or 5 opportunities even after going 2-0 up. We just didn't take them.
No, but the second half was completely just lax.
No, but you can't be gun ho for 90 minutes.
Like,
That's not never going to be
No,
sustainable.
I get that, but it's just like, maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just once we have the second goal, I feel like there was no urgency from the players. I don't know. Maybe I'm chatting shit.
No, you're not bugging, bro.
You agree with that, Sar?
It's not.
Yeah,
it was flat. The second half was flat. We came out there in the second half. We were flat. We didn't really want to attack anymore. We were just like, we're happy with this 2-0. Let's just sit here. Let's pass the ball around. If we find a pass which is blatant, then we'll put the attacker through. But let's face it, we need to. This has been something that I've criticized for a while, which is we need to make sure that when we're scoring goals, we have to score at least 3 to 4 goals. Put the team to the sword, man. If they're there for the taking, put them to the sword. You need to kill them off, give them no opportunity back. Because as soon you see in that second half, as soon as they score that first goal to make it 2-1, Gary O'Neill's eyes light up and he's like, oh my God, we could actually get something out of this. You do not want to give that team that kind of hope. Now, Odegaard for me was amazing this game. I feel like that's one of his best games of the season, and I'm just so happy to see him, especially getting back in his form the way he was last season. We needed to see that, because even now a lot of people will tell you, he scores 1 goal. Even when he scores a goal in a game, they'll say, he scores a goal, but then he disappears for most of the game. This game he wasn't disappearing. He was controlling the game. He was controlling the tempo of the game. He was controlling everything that was going on. He was like the maestro. He was like the puppet master, literally controlling every single aspect of the game. So big up to Martin Odegaard. Declan Rice, I'm not even going to say it anymore. It's just standard now. I don't even need to speak about Declan Rice anymore. This guy is just good in every single game that we play. So big ups to him. Saka, Martinelli, I feel like they could have been a bit more clinical, but I felt like they still had good games. Listen, after that Champions League game, obviously I wasn't here for the Champions League game, Terry, but big up yourself. I saw the stream. But after that Champions League game, this is the kind of I didn't want him to play Havertz. I wanted him to go back to Trossard, because Havertz could come out and possibly be an impact player as a substitute in this game. Yeah, you don't want him right after scoring 2 games in a row to play him in this game, and then all of a sudden, if he doesn't score anything when he starts and you take him off for somebody else, his confidence then goes down again. This time he's coming on, he's hungry. You could see he's coming on, he's hungry, he's trying to make something in the game. That's what I want from Havertz. I want him to be hungry every single time he comes onto the pitch. That's how we can get the best of him. And I think he's perfect for those Champions League games. But for this game, listen, he was trying to get what he was. He was trying to do what he was trying to do, but was unlucky at times. Nketiah, criminal. I think that you can't miss that shot. You cannot miss that shot. I'm sorry. And I thought the goalkeeper got a touch to it. So I was going to let him off. I was like, you know what? Let me see if the goalkeeper got a touch. The goalkeeper did not even get a touch to it. Not even a touch. So as a striker, I'm sorry, but bro, the only time I can give you an actual, like, let you off is when the goalkeeper gets a touch to it. I can say, you know what, fair enough. You could have gotten it on target, but bro, he didn't even get it on target. Hitting the post. I'm sorry, you're like 10 yards out, bro. 15 yards out.
Don't worry about Nketiah, man.
Now, Nketiah, this is the thing. Now we need to get Jesus.
Martinelli did the same thing.
Jesus stays. No, but Martinelli's more clinical. Martinelli's more clinical.
No, I'm just saying.
No. It's Nketiah's lawyer talking, you guys. Come on now. He's going to protect him to the words and back.
But Zinchenko as well. Listen, defensively, this guy is just. The thing is, a lot of people say, "Oh, but look at his performances previously. Look, he's been defensively sound." The main thing about Zinchenko is he's not consistent. He can't keep consistency. He can be good on one day. He can come out and be amazing defensively. And then the next day, he's making schoolboy errors. You just need to find...
Can I ask you a question, Saka? Is that not on the manager? Because we know he can give us, let's say, 60 minutes of complete good performance. It's usually after the 60-minute mark where we start complaining about his lapses and where he costs us. Like, for example, like Liverpool, when we were 1-0 up and then Trent nutmegs him, it looks like he was about to make the change, but then decided to wait it out. If we can somehow, Arteta can go, right, I'm going to get 55 minutes out of Zinchenko, pull him out, because that's when the mistakes carry on happening. I think it's on Arteta a little bit as well.
If he's a one half player, just sell him.
I think Tomiyasu's injury really affected Mikel Arteta's substitution for Zinchenko. He probably would have brought on Ben White and shifted Tomiyasu to the other side. Because Tomiyasu got injured, he wasn't able to take him out. So his hand was kind of like his card was basically dealt for him. We can't really criticize him for the substitution, because who else is going to bring in that point?
No,
is he going to take both Tomiyasu and Zinchenko out? It kind of is going to disrupt the game even more.
Honestly, our best back line is obviously Saliba and Gabriel. Their places are solidified between anybody. Yeah, and then the left back and the right back. Left back is Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu at left back this season has been one of our strongest left backs. We could all say that, oh, look what Zinchenko gives us going forward. Zinchenko gives us forward, great. So stick him in the midfield. If you want to stick him in the midfield, stick him in the midfield. But at left back, I think Tomiyasu gives you, until Timber comes back, this is what we need to do. We need to have Tomiyasu at that left back position, Ben White at that right back position already, and that's probably our strongest back line, our strongest back line going into games.
Let me ask everybody a simple question. I was gonna literally make this a title of my own video. Do you guys consider Tomiyasu a liability or a strength at this moment in time? Because in my opinion, I still consider him a strength to our team, and he adds some elements that a lot of our other players cannot bring. So if you consider him a liability, you're basically saying the cost of having him on the pitch defensively outweighs the benefit of having him offensively.
Tomiyasu or Zinchenko?
Zinchenko, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I want to go to Jay, actually, because Jay, you said a minute ago, if he can't do 90 minutes, sell him. Expand on that for us, mate.
Yeah, no, that was just in response to his point about subbing Zinchenko 55th minute or 60th minute every week. Mate, he's not paid to play one half. But just to give my take about the game, happy we won. First time winning 3 in a row this season in the Premier League, so it's nice to build some consistency. First half was good. Happy to see my captain back scoring, 7th of the season, all comps. I'm even starting to think he's the Norwegian Lampard. This guy's banging the goals in. Very happy with Odegaard. Happy with Saka as well. He's becoming inevitable, just like Salah is for Liverpool.
Talk about it.
No complaints about Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli done well, didn't score, but gives everything on and off the ball. But if I'm being honest, yeah, we can do all this throughout the season, but if we don't get a striker in January, I don't think we're going to do it. There's a chance, but I feel like this is all just not a waste of time. But until we get a striker, I don't think so, man. Jesus is on 1 goal. It's December. I wanted a striker in summer. Fast forward 5-6 months, Jesus has 1 goal. And there's no point talking about Eddie because I'm not trying to bully anyone or start agendas. We all know what Eddie's on. We can just leave it as that. But obviously, the next option is Trossard. He's playing in midfield now. So I just feel like we're good enough to come top 3, top 2, maybe even first. But if we want to win this league, we'd get a striker in it. That's just my opinion. So
you're not too worried about kind of Zinchenko, the midfield defenders. For you, it's about we're doing everything right, but we just need more players that can put the ball in the back of the net, and then we're there.
Yeah, I feel like we need a striker. I'm not worried about people like Zinchenko. Like Tomiyasu is doing well, but let's not let recency bias get the better of us. Zinchenko is 10 times the player.
But
Tomiyasu
brother,
might be better defensively. He might be better defensively, but on the ball, light and day, Zinchenko's better.
I don't think we're gonna get a striker, in my opinion.
Yeah, neither do I.
I think we're gonna get a midfielder, and I think the whole goal of this season is to the defense to be the bedrock of how we win. We will still score enough goals to be up there at the top of the table. We will still have the goal difference because we're going to be really resolute defensively. We're not going to concede as many goals. But bro, let's be honest. If we had Saliba or Tomiyasu fit last season, we win the league. It wasn't about the goals per se. To me, it was always about the defense. So with Declan Rice being here, a reliable midfielder who so far has not missed any time, we don't have to worry about that piece. Like Thomas Partey continues to getting injured. So to me, I don't think we don't necessarily need to go and spend 40, 60 million on a striker who in 6 months' time we want to get rid of again and get another better player. We might as well go big. We might as well go big for a proper striker in January because I don't even see us getting Tony at this point. I don't see us getting anybody in January of the value and the quality to raise our level. Where in the midfield we can get somebody of the level and the quality to raise our level, and we could still win this league without necessarily having to shake it up and get another striker. I believe we could do that off the back of our defense. Defense wins you leagues, bro.
Just to respond to you, I agree with what you're saying. I think Arteta come out and said, well, according to the reports, that due to the Partey injury, they wanted to get a midfield, blah, blah, blah. Our attention's turned to a midfielder. But everything you're saying is correct. I agree with you.
And we all want a striker.
Listen, well, we're not Chelsea or City where we just spend millions and millions. I know people think Arsenal spend, but as the club we use our resources. Like Partey's not available, we'll turn our attention to a midfielder. That's how we run. But if we're being honest, ask any neutral. If we get a proper striker in January, we'll probably win this league. We can do some buts and maybes that we've been doing for years and years. But you know, Egal, I know, we get a big 9 in January and we're favourites for this league. But we're not going to do it.
That's the problem.
And I know we're not going to do it. So throughout this season, I'm going to watch it. I'm a fan. I'm going to want to win. But yeah, man, it is what it is, isn't it?
But that's the problem, bro. Osimhen's not available in January. You're not gonna prize away Ivan Toney now that they want 80 to 90 mil. They're moving mad. And then it comes down to the situation: do you get extorted in January, or do you wait until summer and you get a target, a first name target that you actually want, and you address the midfield and improve your creativity issues throughout the games?
Yeah, we can wait or we can win this league. It's just up to us, isn't it?
Come on, bro. Believe.
Nath, we'll come back to that in a minute. We'll come back to that conversation about the future for Arsenal. But in terms of today, what did you make of it? Did you think you guys got a bit too lackadaisical towards the end, or was it a comfortable performance that was just slightly marred by an individual error? Overall, was it a good win for a team trying to win the Champions League, Premier League? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I do think it was a solid performance. I just think towards the end of the game, well, I do think we didn't take our chances, and that was the biggest problem. If you really, sit back and you analyze the game, that should have been a comfortable 3-4-0 with the chances that we created, and it ended up being a 2-1 because Zinchenko goes to sleep and lets in the opponent. That wasn't the first time he did that in the game. I believe he did that in the first half, and Raya bailed him out of that. So it was a game in which we were cruising, and with Zinchenko's error in the last 5 minutes to go in the game, it completely changes the momentum. And as you know, momentum is a powerful thing in football. And it's something that I kind of want to see the squad kind of improving, because I feel like when we do go in these tough moments, sometimes we retreat into a defensive shape rather than kind of take control of the game and try and take the sting out of it. And I felt like those last 5-6 minutes, we were just defending, and there was no kind of real control on the game. And I feel like that's an aspect of the squad and the team where I want to see kind of develop. But overall, I thought it was solid. I think Eddie should have scored. And, regardless, when you're played through, I don't care if the keeper gets a touch in it or not. I think that is your bread and butter. When you have that amount of time, you have to hit the back of the net. And that completely, seals the game and makes it a lot easier. And I hear a lot of people talking about we should, as if, we should put more energy. But I also feel like when you look at the top teams, there's also this level of energy expenditure where you manage the game and you don't go overkill. And I felt like we did enough to manage that game, but we just weren't clinical. You look at the likes of Manchester City, they tend to have that energy towards the back end of the season because of how they manage games. So I do disagree with the panel in terms of we needed to go more for the kill, because I felt like we did enough for it in the game throughout the 90. I just feel like the players, Jesus let us down in terms of finishing in that aspect. Overall, he was amazing. His hold-up play today was a clinic, and the way he was, the way he linked up with Saka for the first goal, for the second goal with 1-2 with Zinchenko, Eddie Nketiah, I think Trossard had a chance as well, if I'm not mistaken. So there were plenty of chances throughout the game, and I think Zinchenko, for a man of his experience, for what he's been brought in, he can't be going to sleep. Like we saw defensively what he brought to us last game, and we all praised it when he made that off the line clearance, and he was solid defensively against Brentford. But this is concentration, right? It wasn't, it's not like he got done or anything. It was just concentration, and from an experienced member of the team and somebody who's coming from Man City to give that squad that type of leadership, you expect better, and it's extremely frustrating to see that.
I get that completely. I want to have a chat about Saka in a minute in terms of what he's delivering. But I know if I start doing that now, with Brandon, who's just arrived as well, it might go back to talking about the game in isolation. I know, Brandon, you've been off. You've had a little operation, mate. I hope you're feeling better. What did you make of Arsenal today, and the fact that you are now 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League? Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've been quite impressed with the last couple of performances by Arsenal. We're starting to look like the Arsenal of last season again. It's clicking more. More players are showing up in games as well. It's not just Declan Rice versus everyone like it was at the beginning of the season. But like my man just pointed out there are still them silly little errors in our game. Because let's be honest, right? Wolves didn't look like scoring at all today. Up until that, the 84th minute, with the silly error by Zinchenko. We know he's got that in his locker, unfortunately. He's not the greatest of defenders. And, up until that point, Wolves didn't look like doing anything today. And it kind of shows just how good of a performance it was from us today, because I believe, apart from Manchester United, Wolves have scored in every single game that they've played so far this season. So, this is a decent side, and we limited them. And overall, I thought it was a very, very good team performance. Okay, we could have maybe finished one or two more of our chances, and maybe it should have been 3 or 4. Obviously, it was only 2, but, then the momentum shifts when Zinchenko makes a silly error like that. And I just think, if you're Mikel Arteta, I'd be so frustrated with that, because we had such control of that game. And then, just one little error shifts the momentum completely. And let's be real, they had a few chances after that, and we could have been coming out of there with a draw when really we should be winning that game comfortably. So that's the only thing that I can really criticise. But like I say, I'm starting to see the Arsenal of last season again now. I'm starting to see players clicking into gear. Havertz has started performing as well now. Martinelli, Saka, Jesus, they're all turning up. And I think that was the worst bit about our start to the season was defensively was very good, but attacking wise, not very great. But now we're starting to see these players that performed so well last season in an attacking sense start to step up. So hopefully we can continue that on.
Do you know what's interesting listening as obviously the only person here that isn't an Arsenal fan? What's really interesting about listening to you all is I can see the standards of your club being raised by you all in different ways. And what I mean by that is you're top of the league by 4 points. I still think of an outsider looking in, you beat Wolves fairly comfortably. There was a last little 10 minutes where it was a little bit crazy, but if Eddie finishes the chance he should, and there's no mistake from Zinchenko, you guys win and you're not even talking about any of that. But yet you're still kind of nitpicking in the right areas. And that's because you just want your team to keep getting better and better. And it's good to see that, I don't know, this isn't a dig at anybody in particular, but obviously Lee Gunner's someone, there's a lot of gooners like him that they have standards up here. And I think everybody else does. But everyone has a different sort of feeling of when I expect us to be at that level, as opposed to demanding it when you're not quite ready. And I think that it's interesting listening to you all talk. You're all happy, but there's still a long way to go. We want to get even better. We want to score more goals. And I think that's only going to help. That's only going to help improve.
I think the reason for the high standards from us here is because we want longevity. The thing is, you can come out and say, oh yeah, this is great, we keep on winning, and let's say for instance we win this league title. I'm not just going to be happy with one league title. I want us to build longevity so we can do it for years and keep that winning run going for years, because the way we built this team, they're a young bunch of lads. They're young, so this team should for realistically go from now. When they win their first title, they should be able to go on for another 5, 10, 15 years together and build on each other. And obviously you're bringing in players at that point, bringing in youngsters who can also learn from these players because they were youngsters themselves when they first came to the club. And that's what you want to start to build. You want to build that mentality within the club where you built this off of youngsters. So the youngsters that come in can be coached or mentored by these older players now who are young, who were youngsters when they first came to the club.
And I want to talk about one youngster, Bukayo Saka. Terry, I think you mentioned it earlier that you wanted us to talk about him. When are we going to start calling this guy world class? He did it in the Euros, he did it in the World Cup, he's doing it in the Premier League, he's doing it in the Champions League. He has 20 goals and like 17 assists this calendar year. So he has the GA to match some of the best wingers in the world. After 5 Champions League games, he's top of the chart for GA in the Champions League. What more do you just need him to lift the trophies before you start putting that world-class tag on him? Because at this point, there's nothing else he can do besides lifting those major trophies.
No, but when it really matters, that's when you call players world-class. You can't just do it when it's the beginning of the race. You can't do it now. It's too premature.
You want to know something?
Look at it last season. What did he do in the last 7 games?
Bro, let me paint this picture for you. He was 16 years old when he first broke into 16 or 17. How old was he when he first broke in? He was very young, and then he was one of our best players back then.
It's not just about style.
He did in the Europa League.
It's about when it really matters.
Bro, when it really mattered in the Europa League, he was one of the only people who stood up out of that.
Let's be honest.
When it really mattered last year, he was one of the guys who always showed up. You can't depend on you. It's at the end of the day, it's a team. But he always
not in the last 8 games, though.
Guys, let me just jump in for a second. Try to let each other finish your points before people jump in, just because it gets hard for the viewers to follow. What's the rebuttal to what Igal's saying here? He said, "When are we going to call him world class?" What are we saying to that?
Like, I get what Igal's saying. I do get it, but he ain't there yet. He ain't. You know, when you look at last season, like Sauls was saying, the last 8 games, he was also one of the players that went missing in the last 8 games when it really mattered, when it could be the difference between Arsenal winning the league and not winning the league. Now, I'm not sitting here and blaming Bukayo Saka because obviously he had a great season last season and he weren't the only one who went missing in them last 8 games. In the Champions League, I agree. He's top of the charts at the moment. He's doing really, really well. When it's going to matter is when we reach the knockout stages like we are now. Like, is he going to show up in the knockout games against the better sides? Let's not forget, we've been, in a group with Sevilla, Lens, and, PSV, a group that Arsenal were expected to get out of when that draw was made. So
it's not my
it's
fault.
like, can he do it against, I don't know, a Real Madrid over 2 legs, for example? That's where it becomes a question of, is Bukayo Saka world class or not? In my opinion.
I kind of disagree in the sense of I look at him. I believe he's performing at a world class level, but I feel like the title world class is given up way too easy in today. For me, being world class means you're performing over a set period of time at a top level. So we can sit here and say his performances over the last 18 months have been world class, but I feel like he needs a longer body of work. I don't agree with the argument about, oh, he didn't do it in the final end, so therefore he's not world class, or if he wins the league, he becomes world class, because I feel like that's also too simplistic, because it also depends on his contributions in regards to that league title and how he performs all the way up until that point. But for me, I feel like world class needs to be given when you have a serious body of work and you've performed at that highest level for a significant period of time. And I feel like Saka is performing very well, and if he continues in his trajectory, he'll get there.
No, but winning definitely matters, because if you can't win, then you've not done it when it matters. The pressure of winning. Look at us last season. We bottled it. Why? Because we didn't have the mentality to get it over the line. We were 8 points clear of Man City. There's a different mentality when it really matters. Look at Spurs. They got to the final, couldn't hack it then. There's a lot of.
Did you ever consider Harry Kane world class? Because he never won.
No, because he hasn't done it when it really matters. I've always said this. For me, the aspect of winning isn't the only thing, but it's what it means to win something, to get your team over the line in that final, in those cutting edge moments, is what a world class player is. Not when you're playing against a Lens. Who gives a shit?
Let me say this.
You're in the better team.
When every coach in the world, in the Euros, in the World Cup, in the Champions League, in the Premier League, is game planning for him as the best player on Arsenal. And when it comes to, when they talk about the best wingers in the world, they put him in the same bracket as the best wingers in the world. That's when I start to say, you know what? We have to start talking about him as a world-class player. Because I know he has a long way to go to get to Mo Salah's level. But at this moment in time, outside of Mo Salah, when you talk about right wingers, Bukayo Saka is right there. You cannot tell me that's not.
I want to see it when
to use your Harry Kane.
Let me just jump in a second here. I get this, but this all comes down to, we're arguing more now about the definition of world class as opposed to how good Bukayo Saka is. Some people say you've got to be top 3 in the world. I've always found it weird. What if you have 5 players that are all as good as each other? What, 2 of them not world class because they're not inside the top 3? Some people, again, and I agree that trophies have to be part of that conversation, because trophies are huge in their key. And I agree. I think with what Nathan, I think this kid, I think he is world class. I just don't think he maybe has proven it to everybody yet. He's performing at a world class level. I think he will deliver in his career in title races. He didn't last year at 21 years of age, but a lot of 21-year-olds haven't done that either. I look at his numbers this year, and this is why I know he's a top class player. His numbers have got better year in, year out. This season, I don't even think he's been at his best, but still is 6th in Europe at the top 5 leagues for goals and assists. He's joint with Bellingham, who's on 19, and Mbappe, who's on 19. Interestingly, and I didn't realize he'd scored so many this year across all comps, including the Europa League. Ollie Watkins is actually on 19 this year. But that's a slight anomaly, because Watkins hasn't been there in prior years. He may not ever be there again. But the rest of the names on there, Mbappe, Haaland, who we all know is world class, right? 23 goal contributions. The only person who's scored and assisted exponentially more goals than Bukayo Saka this year is Harry Kane, who's on 29 GA for this season, who's absolutely killing it for Bayern Munich. And Saka's doing that when he hasn't even been at his best. The Ollie Watkins, the Jude Bellinghams of this world, etc., they are being raved about as, wow, look how good they are. And this man is still able to deliver even when he isn't good. And I think that's a sign of, somebody said it earlier, he's inevitable. And that's the thing with Saka. He is there. He could be having a stinker and he can win you a game. And in my personal opinion, only players who have greatness in their boots can do that. And I think he's at a world-class level. The trophies will give him his greatness. He has to win trophies to create greatness, in my personal opinion. But this is a special kid who, for 2 or 3 years now, I'm gutted he's an Arsenal player. The only saving grace is that he plays for my country, so I get to support him about 10 times a year. But I think he's absolutely sensational in my personal opinion. I really do.
What makes it even better for him? This is one of the best spines since the Invincible that we've had. One of the best spines this Arsenal team has ever had. You have William Saliba, one of the best center halves we've had in a long time. You have Declan Rice, one of the best defensive midfielders we've had in a long time. You have Bukayo Saka, who's producing like one of the best players we've had in a long time. Today he surpassed Cesc Fabregas in Premier League goals on Arsenal's list as one of just to go to show you how many goals he's added to his game and how much we rated Cesc Fabregas at the time. So that's just another thing he's added to his list. And then the only person who people even criticize or question is Raya, who at this moment in time, in 14 games where he's played, has 7 clean sheets. Just goes to show you that the whole team around him is amazing. And if this team doesn't deliver, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, this team is so good. The sky's the limit for us. This could be the beginning of a dynasty, or this could be a team that eventually doesn't make it, and a bunch of players end up leaving. Either way, it's gonna be on how far Bukayo Saka can take us. And I think he's the talisman for this team, not Martin Odegaard, not anybody else. But guess what? Saliba is probably the best player on this team, and he didn't even get spoken about today.
That's a U-turn on the conversation. We've got Beckley here with us. Beckley, what's your take on the Saka conversation?
I think he's playing at a world-class level right now, and his performances over the last 18 months have been world-class. But for me, you've got Rodrigo and you've got Salah, the 2 wingers that are better than him. And in my opinion, you've got Rodrigo's got a big moment in the Champions League against Man City. Those 2 goals sent to a Champions League final. Salah's won trophies and performed at the highest level in big moments. Saka's not done that yet, so I can't say he's world-class right now. But I think he will become world-class if Arsenal can start delivering those trophies and those league titles.
Brother, what about the Euros and the World Cup? Are those not big moments?
He was unreal in the Euros. He was England's best player. But I think that for Arsenal, he needs to be the one to get us over that line for him to be considered world-class.
So he needs to win trophies.
Not just win trophies, because Mustafi in the World Cup and he didn't play well, but I mean, like, performing the clutch moments in the big games when it matters. Take us over that line.
I think that's a fair standard. I think that's a fair standard to say, be pivotal to a team winning trophies. Because if you think about, I was just looking here at the list here of like your top goal scorers of all time, and I'm looking at Henry, I'm looking at Ian Wright, Van Persie, Dennis Bergkamp's name is on there, Alan Smith's name is on there, Paul Merson, Perez. So many of these guys have helped you win major trophies. I wouldn't say they're all world class, but just being legends at your clubs, it isn't just being a good player or someone the fans love. You've got to have delivered. I'm not too sure how many trophies Van Persie won. I think maybe only the FA Cup in 2005. I think he was on the bench in that game. But yeah, I mean, there's players that have won a lot. I didn't realize this, that Theo Walcott is a legend. I didn't realize this, that Theo Walcott is the 5th highest goal scorer in Arsenal's history.
Yeah,
he is. 100 goals for Arsenal.
He's been with us for a long time.
108. No, again, I've never gone and checked your records because it's just been pointless for me.
Giroud has 100, I think, also.
Drew 105, Alan Smith 102. It's actually crazy. The majority of the people in your top 20 are all like Premier League era players. It just, it's crazy. And I only say that because, like, my club, a lot of our players are from like the 60s, 70s, 80s. It's interesting looking at different clubs.
Imagine if this team delivers for Arsenal a Premier League or a Champions League and is the first person to bring silverware to the Emirates. Some of these guys who are actually in this team could be going down as Arsenal legends.
Well, I think you're doing it for the first time in 20 years. I mean, if these players deliver a Champions League, that puts them in again. And I can't. This is something I never get. I don't think any rival or neutral should speak on who should. You can have an opinion on who should or shouldn't be, but it's the fans of a club who decide essentially who their legends are. But if, for instance, Saka is a talisman in leading you to win a Premier League and a Champions League, because he's also from your academy, he's one of you lot. This guy could end up going down as one of your greatest ever players, if not the greatest ever. Not that he's better than Henry, but legendary status isn't just depicted by how good you are as a footballer. It's the whole package and what you deliver. So look, there's loads that could be done there. I want to go to super chats and run them by you all as well. This here says, sorry,
Gonna have to go, bro.
one. No worries. Cheers, my man. Arsenal oozing Odegaard and Saka class is what best from you, Beckley. Cheers, mate. Appreciate that. This here says, Terry, you said you like trophies like the Carabao Cup. Winning trophies like that promotes mediocrity. United fans used to use that as an excuse. There should only be one trophy available like in America. I would say this, my bro. I'm not trying to disrespect American sports, but my football is bigger than all of your sports. So I don't want to do things that you do. No disrespect to basketball, it's good. I like the NFL. I love hockey, but none of they all pale into insignificance compared to football, in my personal opinion. Just look at the numbers of the World Cup or a Champions League final. It's huge. So no, thank you, my bro. Plus, I do like the Carabao Cup, but that's not all I want. That's not mediocrity to celebrate winning trophies. Zinchenko gave them 3 chances. The back pass, the header, and gave away for that goal. It's not good enough. Saka is amazing, is what O'Malley says here. When Timber comes back, he'll offer us more on defense if he is deployed at left back. As good as Zinchenko is, he has that mistake in him.
I find the Timber stuff so funny.
In what way?
In the way of we've seen him play a few preseason games. He's been injured for the whole thing, and every Arsenal fan talks about, oh, when Timber comes back.
No,
but Kobe Mainoo's played about 106 minutes in total, and he's already as good as Paul Scholes for some people, which is it happens, doesn't it, bro? It happens.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, I disagree with you there because I've watched Timber play quite a few games actually, even in the Eredivisie. And
how many in the Prem?
He's like on the ball, he's so good, and defensively, Klube centre back, and defensively he's impeccable. And Zinchenko has that like thing where like sometimes he thinks he's that guy, so defensively gets caught out on the ball sometimes. Like we saw against Liverpool last season, like that game probably cost the league title, if we're being honest, when he got knocked out by Trent. So I think when Timber does come in, I think we'll see an improvement actually in Arsenal going forward and defensively.
It's going to be an interesting one when he does. Kenny here says Nketiah got exactly the same ball as Trossard, identical, but idiots will always go for their scapegoats. Why are these guys sounding like we lost? Shake my head. What Kenny says here.
Yeah, I like that.
It's constructive criticism, man. It's just constructive criticism. I don't understand why fans are sensitive about, sitting here and constructively criticizing the team. No one's unhappy that we lost. That we won, sorry. Right, we're all praising the team for where they can be, where they are, but we're also looking at where they can be and how we can eradicate the mistakes or any issues that we're seeing to become a better team. So there's no one unhappy here, mate.
Thanks, Terry. I gotta go.
All right, mate. Cheers, Beckley. Top man.
See you later.
This is: Are there any players out there who, like a Timber or White, can play both fullback and centre back? If we learn anything from last year, we need another bench player in case of a Saliba injury. Yeah, I get you on that. The problem that you've got is you bring somebody else in of a higher level, Timber will return. And so sometimes, as much as you think we need to go and buy somebody else, sometimes you just have to wait for a player to return. Especially, I know ACLs are bad, but he's young and the operations are so successful now. It was shaky second half, but the job was done. Come on, you gooners, what Pete Kenny says. Man like Tevin says, but we don't score those goals without Jesus. Yeah, I think Jesus is... The only thing he lacks as a player is consistency when it comes to finishing. Outside of that, he's top quality. If Eddie, Martinelli, and Jesus were my kids at the dinner table, they would have been sent to their rooms with no dessert. Well, Jesus, maybe not. I think he was integral. Is Harry Kane world class? Is Harry Kane world class? We know Harry Kane is world class. I get that. Has he done it to win trophies? Well, he's going to do it this year. So we know he's already doing it. 29 GA already this year. People will always move the goalposts. So far, there are only a handful of world-class players then. It's the definition, isn't it? It's people have different definitions that normally causes the problem. This year, Tevin says, so we are now shifting the goalpost. Champions League knockout stages now. Some will say he's world-class because they see the progress and some wait. People call Kane world class and he's never lifted anything. I hear you there, Christopher. It's a good point.
Just on this whole Kane thing, can I just say,
Yeah.
like, I think the difference with I think for Kane to be looked at as a great, I think he needs to win trophies. I think world class is more to do with performances, right? And how good you're right. How good you are as a player in terms of the world, right? In terms of to be a great, you need to have a CV of trophies and accolades to compete.
I've always felt the difference between best and great are two different things.
Yeah.
You know, Man United's best, you could argue our best ever player is Ronaldo because of what he has achieved in football. But is he Man United's greatest ever player? The answer is no. Ryan Giggs and Charlton, and there's certain people that their legendary status, their greatness at our club is outweighs Ronaldo being better than them as football players. And I think the level Saka's performing at is world class. If you look at the last 3 or 4 years, in my opinion, as a body of work, if he just maintains it for another 6-7 years, that's world class ability. Would he be a great, though, if he doesn't ever win a league title? He doesn't win a Champions League. If he never wins another trophy, that's going to be hard because your great players at your club are only great because of what they won, coupled with the quality of performance. And this says, I'd take Rodrigo over Saka today, and that's the difference. He's not world-class yet, is what Marco says here. I do get this feeling as well, though, because do you know what I love about watching Jude Bellingham play? Because he'd never played for a top Premier League team, everybody rates him. Do you remember everybody used to rate? I know he hasn't done well at Man United, but everyone felt that way about Jadon Sancho. If Saka left Arsenal, went to Real Madrid, he'd be performing there. He would deliver it. But do you get where I'm coming from? So for you, Terry, is Wazza the Man United GOAT? No, I love Wayne Rooney. He's one of my favorite players, but Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Best, Charlton Law, those five, I think, are our biggest 5 legends at our club. Rooney's up there, but those 5 for me, for different reasons, go above him. Gabriel is criminally underrated compared to Saliba. This always happens, though, isn't it? There's always one that gets the shine. You know what I'm saying? It's like a pop band. You know what I mean? When Destiny's Child were massive, I actually only found this out in America. Actually, Kelly Rowland was the one that everybody thought was the best. But there's always one that stands out as the star, isn't there? It always happens. Terry, why are you not live in Newcastle? Why am I not live in Newcastle? Arctic. Yeah, I do these streams from my little studio at home, my bro. I don't know. That's why. I don't think Saka is world class yet, but Kane is world class yet. Hasn't won anything. It's more than trophies. I hear that. We need to sort out the left midfield. Nelly is isolated. A few people have said that in the last few games. Do you think Martinelli's getting isolated out on the left-hand side, boys?
Yeah, I feel that way. I've seen loads of games where he's by himself and we just kind of leave it to Martinelli and Inshallah, let's say. But I don't know, man. It might be the way we play. He doesn't really link. Like on the right-hand side with Saka, you have the Odegaard who they do the 1-2s and there's more of a link-up play. I don't really see that with the left centre mid. So I think maybe if we sort out the left centre mid position, that could also help Martinelli operate, because Odegaard, I know we call him a 10, but he normally operates on the right-hand side of midfield. So maybe if we sort out the midfield position, it will help Martinelli in those positions. He wouldn't be doubled up as much against. So I just think it's the players around him. And Martinelli is direct, so he doesn't really look for the 1-2s as much as Saka. He's more of just take on his man. So
I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I brought that up as well a few streams ago about that left centre mid. So yeah, I completely agree. I think Xhaka has been missing, and we haven't replaced somebody who offers the overlap or the underlap like Xhaka did and supports Martinelli in that way. I feel like he's just left on that whole left-hand side to kind of try and figure out and try and create something out of nothing, which is not really conducive to us. I think it's why we've looked kind of like we struggle going forwards at times from that left-hand side.
I understand that. Gerald here said, world class to me is top 3 in your position in the world, and Saka is top 3 right wingers, where there is, wingers in the world. Therefore, he is world class. I understand. Listen, everyone's got their own interpretation. My only issue with that interpretation is what if the 3 best current centre backs in the world are not as good as the previous 3 top world class centre backs? Is it just anyone who's the best is world class? I feel like, like when you could be the fastest person in England but not go to the Olympics because you don't run a fast enough qualifying time. I feel like it's harder to do in football because it's not a time, but there should be a barrier to entry, if that makes sense. And I think some of that is, and it's easy with attacking players because goals and assists are a big part of it, but that debate is for another day, I think. Boys, look, I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank our viewers. We are live after Newcastle versus Man United, and I am not looking forward to that game. I'm being honest with you. So make sure you come back and join us for that game later. I really would appreciate your support. I'm probably going to need it after that game. Nathan, Jay, thank you both for coming on, and the rest of our panel. My super chatters, you are amazing. And everyone who smashed the like button, thank you. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.